You want to cancel your reservation? Okay. About a decade ago, when I was fresh out of high school, I got a summer job working at a lakeside boat rental / bait and tackle shop. My boss, Joe, not his real name, inherited the shop from his father and took a massive amount of pride in keeping the family business going. Still, he wasn't one to give into bullshit, and clearly took it personally when a customer complained about anything to do with the shop he loved so much. Our lake was a pretty popular trophy fishing destination due to how large the local Mackinaw trout got. Boss man wanted to reward people who planned ahead by never charging summer pricing, approximately $150 more per day, on reservations. Naturally, this resulted our boats getting booked out weeks in advance. The catch was we did require a completely refundable, $100 security deposit, we said, in case of damages, but was mostly to guarantee they returned the boat. Of course, every year, many people took issue with this policy. In 3 years, I saw this happen dozens of times. Boss had his malicious compliance down to an exact science. When a customer would refuse to pay the security deposit, Joe would state the deposit is non-negotiable. Almost always, the customer would then declare they're canceling their reservation, they'll never do business here again, generally recite the whole Karen manifesto. Joe would cheerfully agree, feed their paperwork into the shredder, and send them off. You see, dear reader, of the 3 marinas on the lake, we were the only ones that rented out boats. The other 2 only rented out space for boats to dock. They'd never ask about our competitors, so Joe never had any reason to inform them. Without fail, within the hour the customer would be back, having realized that they couldn't get a boat elsewhere. Usually at this point business would be picking up, meaning I'd be, loudly, answering questions about boat rentals for other guests, and the customer's fishing buddies or antsy kids would be pushing them to get the boat already. Grudgingly they'd ask for their boat. Joe would fake concern and tell them that unfortunately, all the boats have been reserved for weeks, so we're usually unable to accommodate walk-in rental requests. As luck would have it, we had a cancellation earlier today. Since they don't have a reservation, however, we have to charge the summer holiday pricing. Oh, and, just FYI, we require a completely refundable, $100 security deposit for all rentals. I hope that's alright with you. Edit, clarifying, because it keeps coming up in comments, customers were notified of the deposit requirement when they made the reservation, but they didn't need to pay anything until the day of rental. We didn't require the deposit in advance to secure the reservation, but we'd only honor the reservation until noon if no payment had been received, which we also told them about. Most folks chose to pay day of. Now to the comments. Brilliant. The most elegant punishments are self-inflicted. And it's about a $100 refundable security deposit, why would they complain so much about that? Perhaps they assume that the seller would stiff them on the deposit. I don't know though, where I'm from, this wouldn't be an issue. As luck would have it, we had a cancellation earlier today. This is such perfection. This line is, by far, the best part of the story. Pure gold. It took way too long for it to click that the cancellation was the same person. If he didn't have a monopoly on the boats, the malicious compliance wouldn't be as satisfying, laughing. OP replied. Fair point, but I bet if the other marinas rented boats, they probably would be just as booked up, so still would have gotten a fair few folks with it. And I think they too would ask for a deposit. We said in case of damages, but was mostly to guarantee they return the boat. Did someone steal a boat before? That or just fail to return it, leave it on the other side of the lake or something. OP replied. They go ashore nearby a buddy's cabin or campsite and then we'd have to go out and tow it back. I'm honestly surprised that anyone has an issue with a refundable deposit, sounds pretty standard. I guess some people are just arseholes by nature. Yeah, I feel like most places that charge a refundable deposit just roll the money into the cost of the boat, or hotel room or whatever you're renting. I have no idea how much it costs to rent a boat though. If the rental is $20 and the deposit is $100, I'd be confused. If the rental is like $200 and the deposit is $100, I'd understand perfectly. I think they mentioned the rental is $150 more expensive during the summer, so I'm guessing a few $100s at least. I see you've got it down to a fine art. Karens must hate it totally. Warmed my heart to see that you guys don't take nonsense from Karens. Quite refreshing. OP replied. I've moved on to bigger and better things since then, but I definitely miss having G as a boss. He was a gem and always knew the right way to mess with people. Were these customers mostly women? I'm confused about why people keep calling them Karens, when I'd imagine most people who rent fishing boats are men. Just curious. People complaining about deposits reminds me of when I worked for a cat rental company. I can't tell you how many times I was cussed out for simply informing people that we require the cost of the rental plus a refundable deposit up front. People act like they are going to negotiate their way out of a national policy for the single largest rental company out there. How many cats were returned damaged? Quite a few come back with catastrophic damages. Expecting to pay a deposit on a rental is common sense, especially for a boat. And $100. I've paid more on a deposit for a tool at Home Depot. I really liked this MC. Thanks for sharing. Most of the MCs here involving a job are about incompetence/power tripping management. Not that I don't have a sick, twisted part of me that enjoys those as well, but it is definitely refreshing when the MC is in league with management for a change. Having spent many years in retail/customer service and having been fortunate enough to almost always have good to amazing managers, I appreciate this. Smile. That's brilliant, LOL. Self-inflicted a-hole tax, that's some beautiful karma. Requiring a security deposit to rent a sinkable, stealable, crashable boat seems totally reasonable. Why so many objections? That's awesome. A $150 douche tax basically. Upvote for whole Karen manifesto. People who rent boats are notoriously reckless with them. Chipped props, cigarette burns, hull damage due to running over logs, running aground. Never rent out a boat without a security deposit. Who seriously has an issue with a refundable deposit? Don't crash or steal the boat and you get your money back. Man, I love everything about this. And in the end, they still get to rent a boat plus a jerk tax. Something like this could be filmed and you could probably run a psych lab on the different type of Karen reactions when they are backed into a corner. You probably get this so much, I am giggling. What is their problem with a fully refundable $100 security deposit? That's like complaining when a hotel has your credit card on file in case you trash your room. Karens have complained about that too, haven't they? R/Tales from the front desk. You have to be a real Karen to complain about a security deposit. 2 kegs of beer have a higher security deposit than $100. So, the reservations are cheaper than summer pricing, but either one comes with a security deposit. People get pissed about the deposit, even though it's a reasonable and cautious policy, cancel their reservations, and leave the store, only to find that other places don't rent boats, only space for boats, come back and ask to rent a boat, only to be told that all the boats are booked and even if there's a cancellation that they still have to pay the deposit, and now they also have to pay the summer price. Duck, that's brilliant. $100 deposit for boat damages seems on the low side too. Lovely story. When I rented a boat, they required a $2K deposit. 100 is nothing. Edit, this sounded better in my head. Clearly you should have rented a boat instead. The deposit is lower. Someone who can afford to travel to fish can definitely afford a $100 security deposit. I'll never understand why some people are like that. You ever walked into a store and it appears to be dead? There is a computer shop in my hometown that you rarely see people in and you wonder how it can afford the rent. However, what you don't see is that the majority of his business is conducted online, and he has a service where he will have his son go to your house to pick up your computer for service and they will deliver it back to you. So you never have to step foot in his shop. So you ask, why does this guy even have a storefront? He doesn't want to keep his stock at his home. The building has insurance, the building has security, he makes just enough business from walk-ins to justify the rent, and most importantly he says it gets him out of his house. So how does this relate? Think about some guy who walks in and sees the place is dead. The first thing he might think is that he can haggle down prices because this place needs his business. I'm guessing this is what this boat rental place was like. People walk in, want their rental boats, and the owner gets them on their merry way as quickly as possible. The place appears empty and in need of business when in reality he wants to keep things moving. So, some people would come in and think they can talk their way out of the $100 deposit because this place needs their business.